please? Things you would do differently or suggestions to think about?
So this is kind of particular, I think, to this setting. It's not going to be common to have 3 people teaching only 8 or 9. And like, it is very, very awkward to stand in one place while people are doing more activity or something of like an intro mini lesson. But when you have 3 people moving around the room, it's very, all at the same time, it's very disconcerting. And it can be very, if you're working down here and you've got all this stuff going on in your peripheral vision, it is hard to concentrate. Particularly, and it's happened, I think, unintentionally once or twice, like, don't hover in someone's blind spot. Like they can tell you're there, but they can't see you, and it's really, really distracting, and you might have uncomfortable. So, again, you only have so much space in here, so it can be difficult to avoid that. And with 3 people in a small, in particular a small classroom, that can be hard to avoid. That's something, it's something to be mindful of. I have a problem with that myself, is I do tend to like maybe hover a little bit too much. But something to remember.
This is not really pushing, I guess. Like my school doesn't have, people don't have computers, so I was trying to think of a way you could do this, because I really like the developing the PowerPoint thing, because it makes the student have ownership of the activity. We're just trying to think of a way you could do that when they don't have the computer.
Yeah, I work at Eastmont, they don't write computers.
Yeah.
But they take them to the library and computer home, because we actually did an activity like this, where they had to present on a topic. They had like.
We do that in my school all the time.
Yeah. So
It's
there's,
allowed a lot.
yeah, something like that.
I had a kind of related question. Technology can be undependable. What happens if like something freak, what is like the backup plan for an activity like this if they can't log on to the internet or something?
Right, and they can't talk right now, but they can come back at that.
Yeah.
So, but that's good question.
Yeah, going off of that, I'm a technologically challenged one here. If I had been paired with someone, it would have been easier for me because I had a lot of trouble like putting images in, getting it to work. Just why I don't think that's. And then like I don't know what the problem is. Like with my computer, maybe it's my computer, maybe it's the user. I don't know. But yeah, just maybe having people in pairs to like troubleshoot.
I've got a couple of things. I wouldn't, when you popped up the picture of the Explorers, you said, you're not really going to do an activity with that particular slide. I wouldn't announce that to the class just because that even though it was just up there for a second, just because that invites everybody to not pay attention, for those couple of minutes. And I'd be careful just like the phrasing of, include a sexy image, with middle and high school boys. Because you may wind up with half-naked women all over your PowerPoint slides. Don't forget to post your objectives.
Awesome.
And some places,
Yeah.
some principals actually require, they come around and check to make sure objectives are posted. And it's always a good idea to just briefly review those at the beginning of the class. And especially, your objectives for the day, your agenda, just so students know what to expect. It's, you talk about getting students into routines and you start teaching routines from the very first day. And while they may try to disrupt the routines every day, it's comforting for them to know what to come in and expect, for them to see what's going to happen. I really did like the PowerPoint activity. I would probably provide websites to your students, just because they may not be savvy and know that, okay, they shouldn't use Wikipedia, but they might be able to use, the BBC or whatever.
And they just Googled sexy image
Yes,
at the moment, and that's what they were looking for.
And it may save you some time. If you tell students, okay, we have these 3 websites listed, you can go to one of these 3 and get your information from there. They don't have to search, that you're providing students with credible websites. They may not understand that Wikipedia is not a credible website. It's like, well, I see it referred to all the time, so that'll help with that. And then I might just, throw some maps in there, like Cam, you mentioned the Cape of Good Hope and rough seas, but not being able to tell exactly where everybody's mental mapping ability is. If you mention that, it's good to refer to it, but are they able to picture that in their head and connect it with what you said in the explore that you mentioned? So I might just little things to throw in and just, kind of things to think about saying in front of the kids.
And just to piggyback off what Lisa just said, I know you guys mentioned at one point, like, here are some good websites, but again, just even giving students a handout of places to go or throwing in a Google Doc, since you already did that, having those links ready for them. Having their guiding question that they are given at the beginning that they can sort of come back to throughout the lesson, and you can come back to and reference so that they can see the direct connection that you're trying to make with them. And again, with the map, we had them kind of draw one. I'm not sure at that point that they had enough like knowledge and content from the rest of their peers to be able to do that accurately. So just making sure that they have everything they need in order to complete an assignment.
And you guys have 4A, B, and C, but you only actually taught 4A. So you might want to be aware of that. Yeah, 4A was the only thing that was covered in this actual lesson.
So I think some of it's just like specificity. So get into the habit, depending on the school, not even depending on the school, get onto the habit of like, here's the guiding question. It's up there from the start, and then you can bring it back. Here are the objectives. So here's to just do it. Right, today, here's the transition. Guiding question, objectives. Here's the theme we're going to hit, and here is World History 1, and write it down specifically. Say what it is. Because WH24A means absolutely nothing to most students. It means a lot to you guys, but without understanding what it is, and you can hit that, and then you can bring that back when you're kind of saying, well, this is why we're doing it, this is why we're doing it, and it makes you pay attention to it as well as the students, so I think that's good. I love the PowerPoint. I would, thinking about, you know, things like this, one thing you could do is like have them storyboard a PowerPoint if you can't get to the lab on time and just kind of lay it out with paper, and so that could do. Another one is I do like the idea of pairing and supporting each other, so you didn't have to do all 7, you could just pair just as a support for some people. I was looking around going, is everybody individual here? And you know, I'm like, well, how are they going to do with different students type of thing. Sometimes it's nice to have that support, sometimes it's nice to work on your own as well, I acknowledge that. And then I wondered about a template. I wondered about creating a PowerPoint template. If you wanted a unified one that kids could have, sometimes it's nice to say, here are the sites, all right, first slide is, and you've already got it made for them, that they can either download or it's on the computers, or you explain template, slide 1, slide 2, slide 3. These are the very specific things, because this helps me answer the question. And it just aligns it a little bit. And it might help kids like, you know, I think it was Sarah who had everything on one slide and then everybody else has different structures. So it's nice to have some kind of different supports in that sense. That's about it.